My early life was rather conservative. My parents were most of the time abroad. My father was an engineer in Burma Oil, and we were in Burma, and the Japanese bombed us, so we had to come back to India, to our ancestral property in the West Coast. And I was brought up by my grandparents. One of the traditions of our family, of course, my whole life revolved around the parish and the church. And one of the traditions of our family was to produce priests and nuns for every generation, and to learn music, because they always said if you have no job, you can earn some money by playing music. And somewhere in the late 69, after 4 years as secretary and the archbishop, I decided to go abroad. I had already got a couple of degrees like an MA and LPH, and to do some studies in economics. So I went to Oxford. My parents paid me. So that gave me a little opening. But before I could finish my course, in 71, the Bangladesh refugee problem started. And the cardinal, I got a message saying, we have a big problem. So I landed in Calcutta, and I realized outside Calcutta alone, we were faced with 100,000 refugees. And we were trying to keep them in Salt Lake and all the rest of it. Anyhow, I desperately sent telegrams all over. And I got a lot of volunteers from students and St. Joseph's, and then of course the doctors and all came. So I was the head of Caritas Calcutta. I was not the head of Caritas, but in Calcutta I was running the show. I had not gone to Delhi even. Each country has its Caritas, and they are so efficient and so effective. Their money just came. Now my job was distributed, set up camps. We were fortunate that we had several parishes along the border. So we set up several camps in our parish, and we ran massive programs. At the end, there were about 8 million refugees. We covered about 1.5 million, it was almost a $200 million program. And we used to get plane loads of equipment every day. Now you talk about Unimogs. We were getting Unimogs in 71. Medicines, food. And the situation at the camps was bad, because I think nobody saw them at that time. We had no TV. I come from a reasonably well-off family. I had never seen such suffering, disaster. People had walked for months on end, to come here. They'd been persecuted by the Pakistani soldiers. And the first day in the camp, I did nothing else but just bury stillborn babies. We took shovel and used to put them in them. So we are not talking about 1 or 2, we are talking about 50,000, 100,000 people. And the suffering there was something that shocked me. And many of the people who joined me from all over India, from IBM were still here. So they sent 3 people. All of them became different people. The refugee program changed people completely. They went into development, they went into different aspects. Now, they still tell me what an impact that had. It made a tremendous impact on me. After the Bangladesh operation, I went to Delhi, to Caritas head office. So there I became the Deputy Director of Caritas and also the Secretary of the Justice and Peace Commission of the Bishops' Conference of India, which is Vatican Council thinking was very much enshrined. Openness, work with others, other religions, this type of thing. Don't build church institutions, build institutions of people. There are 3 major things we did there, which we call country focus program, where we put a lot of money into sectors which we thought which were the focus of the country at that time. But we did it through the NGO sector. One was dry land agriculture. This was a big Canadian priority and an Indian priority. So we selected ASEFA
which was rehabilitating people on dry land, which was donated under Bhudan. And we gave them a lot of money and we helped them to build their organization. We also give them money for administration and as a corpus fund. That was where Pradhan first people started, because with the money in ASEPA, we said you must get some management and professionals, and all the first Pradhan people all started in ASEPA. The second one we took up was alternate energy, and that was biogas, and that we gave to AFPRO, and AFPRO had about 100 partners.
South Asia Partnership became a big program, and since we were focusing in CEDA on also on cooperatives and NGOs, my big problem was that these were not equipped and not trained to manage all these things. So I found Pradhan stood for Professional Assistance for Development Action, if you remember. They were supposed to do this. And in fact, this concept of professionalizing NGOs, we incorporated in the next plan document, which I was involved with.
The third one was forestry, social forestry. And that, I was by that time 4 years in CEDA, and I was not happy just donating money and writing nice papers. So I asked CEDA whether could they give that consultancy to Mairada, and I would move into Mairada. Because at that time, I was thinking of getting out of the donor and the teaching sector and getting into action. And I knew Mairada. The chairman lived in Vasant Vihar, close to me. His name was Nanjappa, ICS. And Bill Davidson was the director, and I'm from Bangalore. But they warned me that there was no money in Mairada, that there were a few staff, all mainly army people, and the Tibetan project for which Mairada had been set up was over, so there was no money.
As I say, in NGOs, there are activists whom you know, who are very, and there are actionists. Now, but in the actionists, there are two types of people. Actionists, one category is, tell us what to do, we will do it. There are a lot of people like that. But their actionists also say, what do you want to do? We will first find out what is your intention, and secondly, whether the design of the project is going to achieve the objective you want to achieve. Mairada falls in this category. You go there and asking people, what are your problems, what are your needs? You come with money, you come from outside, so they will tell you what their needs are. And not only that, they will also realize that you can solve their needs because you have the money and the power. So the monkey goes from their back to your back. Whereas I discovered that you go and find out what are people's strengths. And we call that appreciative inquiry. Asking people, in the past, did you have problems? Yes. How did you solve them? You see, and that brought out a lot of things, and say, if you have done that, why can't you do it today? They say yes, but then they'll say, but not like you want to do it. We'll do it ourselves.
My name is Al Fernandez. I work with Mairada, which is an NGO in South India, but works in various parts of India. And perhaps the first thought is that development has something to do with change, and change has something to do with power relations. And unless our development initiatives and interventions can shift into a mode where we are able to change power relations, which are rather oppressive, we may not be effective and sustainable in the long run. And this power will come really from people's organizations, people's movements, like the self-help groups, the producer companies, the community managed resource centers, the watershed associations, the Panchayat Rajas. And we need to be flexible enough in our design to give them space so that they can grow, because they grow by the mechanics of their meeting. Their decision making, their interaction, their conflict resolution is what helps them to grow in skills and management and in power.
In the rural area, you can be involved with the Gram Sabha. We always think about the Gram Panchayat. Why? Because that's the last administrative line. But that is part of the government. if you're talking about civil society, it is the Gram Sabha. Now, has anybody ever thought our self-help groups are present at the Gram Sabha, they make a noise. How much have we spent on getting the Gram Sabha to really be independent? If you want independence, it has to start at Gram Sabha. So, Gram Sabha, resident welfare, wards. The wards are public and government and elected, all three. So, we have to be, these are the civil society institution or quasi-civil society institution where we should move into. And fortunately, self-help groups now have been universally accepted. So strengthen that. But they have been reduced to instruments of government. No, they are people's institutions. If I told you the history, we are being reduced to, they are reduced to financial intermediaries. They are reduced by, these are all the big microfinance agencies have reduced self-help groups to financial intermediaries, and government has reduced them to part of the delivery system. All this has to go. So, now you take watersheds in the same way. What did we look at? We said get people involved, get it sustained, so the chances of sustainability, bring down the cost of your investment, because the people are involved, the costs go down. And we also and make it simple. See, for example, what was our motto in watershed development? Very simple. I'm talking about 86, 87. You know what it was? Make the water walk. Bring the soil back to life. These were our motto. In Kannada, everything is easily transferable. Make the water walk by keeping your herbs. So that has come now. I think it is gone into everybody. But bring the soil back to life, which we were started, it's not come. We don't realize the importance of soil. Without soil, you can't have agriculture. You can make the water walk, but the soil harbors the microorganisms which really help the plant to grow. And if your humus is not enough, you won't have microorganisms, and you won't have plants, you won't have the nutrition for the plants. So, having said that, these are the things that I think MyRadar has tried to do at. When I came to MyRadar, my set of beliefs I had sort of crystallized to some extent. That means accept diversity. Diversity is a crux of life, of India especially. And not just accept it, but respect it. And therefore listen to it. Don't try to make it uniform, which is happening today. You're not going to succeed. And especially if you're working in the informal sector, where most of the poor are, the whole of the rural sector is informal. If you do not respect diversity, you are going to do nothing. You will just create problems. Listen, talk to them.